Welcome aboard The Nichole Show with host Nicole Hamilton. Our task is to educate, empower, and change lives. Join us for stories of resilience and rebirth. Honest talks that inspire and challenge you. Are you ready to make a move? It begins now. Welcome back, guys, to the Nichole Show. And if you're listening, that's amazing. And if you're watching, even better, because you have two pink beauties today on the podcast. The beautiful Alex Harvey. She does have her hair up, but she is a pink beauty as well, bringing that unconditional love and feminine power to you. I've been following you, Alex, as I was just saying off air, but for a little while now, maybe a couple of years. And I just am so captivated by your authenticity, your vibe, and the frequency. And with the Nichole Show, I've really diversified as to taking the masks off and not just talking to mama bears and kids. It's about everything. And as you know, a mother myself, like I'm really putting out there now and no holds barred about owning all parts of ourselves, intimacy, sexual exploration, our beautiful innate energies, because that does feed into every part of our lives. And from what I see in your socials, that's what you're about. I was like, yes, queen, let's get you on. So without me fangirling again, Alex, please give us a little synopsis, give us a little bit of an introduction on you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this conversation. So I am essentially a coach for women, helping them connect with what they truly desire out of life, what's their creative genius, and to live from that authenticity and create. Actually, I just realized something that I often say is create their wet dream life. What's their most turned on life, and to access their inner power to do that, because people and women in particular just come across so much resistance and so many blocks to being able to fully own who they are, their individuality, what makes them unique and different. Everyone's kind of in theory all about that, but then when it goes to actually owning that, we have all this conditioning around how we need to fit in, how we need to be good, people pleasing, not upset anyone, not offend anyone, not be too much, don't be too much, don't be not enough. It's just this minefield. So a lot of my work is also very focused around actually giving women the tools to live from that power and that turn on, and and have a modality that really works for women. And something that you were just touching on, what I have found over my years of coaching. I've been coaching for about 10 years, and I started off with a focus around sexuality. I went through my own very big journey with that, and then my coaching shifted to empowering women to do what they love, do the work they love, earn, thrive, doing the work they love. And, what I've just found over my time is that there's different things that really work for women that are left out of most coaching models and modalities. And at the heart of it, what's really been rocking things for me and my clients is specifically being able to be connected to their sexual energy, their turn on, their life force energy, their creative energy, and their pleasure, and to create out of that place. So that is a really central theme in the way that I work with women to live their truth and who they are and create what they want in their lives.
I love that. And thank you for, being that permission slip and being, outrageously courageous in all the things that you are putting out there on your socials, because, it can be quite scary. I was literally just saying that this is some of the things that personally I had kept hidden because I have been in the coaching world a long time too, and also, have a reputation and persona for, kids therapy and mothers therapy and family therapy. And yet in my containers or, with, one-on-ones, I was talking about all the sex therapy and intimacy therapy and, things for women, because that's something that I have explored in depth for many, many years with my wife. Before that, my ex-husband. And so, relationship, intimacy, your turn on, your pleasure is an innate human desire and want, and should not be held from anybody. Yet it's so paper bag, bottom shelf. And so, yeah, thank you for like opening this conversation, because if that part of your life is at the bottom shelf or is hidden away, then it does creep out into all other areas, into your friendships, into your business, into your, connections with other humans, because you're not living at your highest capacity, which is joy and pleasure. So I'd love to know, a little bit about some of the things that you've come across and the whys, because again, we just need to spread this to some women so they feel not so alone.
Yeah. And I really relate to what you shared in terms of getting comfortable, or just choosing to actually share, the truth that you've found in this, when you have a certain, like, you're in a certain space, or you have a certain image, and it doesn't feel like people already see the validity of that. And I started out with coaching around sexuality, and then I took a break from coaching for about a year, and then when I started coaching again, it just kind of naturally happened through like this all this work I did on myself with money. And so it's kind of very like money, earning from what you love focused. And when it felt really true for me to actually like really bring back in practices, which I'll answer your question in a second, around connecting with your body, your pleasure, your sexual energy, moving your sexual energy, I noticed, that I had now had this kind of big conflict, because I had been building my brand as a money coach. And then all of these beliefs were coming up of like, oh, well, if I'm a money coach and I start talking about sex and sexual energy and pleasure, that's going to discredit me.
Yeah.
So it was something that, like I knew that the girls and the women that I was working with were real, like wanted that from me. But initially it was just in my back end programs, or like deeper programs. And then, it was a bit of a process to me to let that out again. Like it was something that I did kind of have out for a while. So I really relate to that. But why, how I came into just discovering the power of these tools was was in my own journey. So I guess I had a lot of blocks that I experienced in my sexual experience when I was younger. And I had a period of time where I just like I couldn't get turned on at all, even if I wanted to have sex with my partner. Like I just couldn't access any turn on. I couldn't get wet. I experienced such low, limited, almost no pleasure sexually, and I just basically felt super broken and fucked up. And I it was something that like I really then started searching for answers for, and was finding nothing. If you were searching today for this kind of thing, you would find a lot of stuff on the internet. There's a lot of people that have done tantra and stuff now put out so much stuff about it. But at this time, there was nothing. And I went to my doctor about it. It was this whole thing. I ended up getting, long story short, put on antidepressants. No one knew what was wrong. It kind of, I know, it was like really this thing of like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. No one even knows what it is. Like, like.
Just sidebar with ADHD here, but did the antidepressants make it so you couldn't orgasm? Because that is my experience with multiple women. So anybody listening to this, if you are on certain medications and you can't climax, it's probably them. I don't know if that was your experience, but it definitely
So
was.
I already, like the level to which I was blocked, I wasn't climaxing. I wasn't having orgasms before.
Mm.
Like I really was not experiencing any pleasure. And so fortunately I only was on them for a month or so. And one of the side effects though was like lower libido or whatever. So
Yeah.
anyways, um long story short, eventually a few years later, I just started looking again, and I found someone who had done a lot of tantra that was starting to put out content online on YouTube, and she just explained how people could experience numbness or shut down sexually in a way that just I was like, oh my God, that's so obviously it. That just makes so much sense. Right. So then I started doing her work and I went on this big journey where I finally found, I guess, all these resources to really help me with what I wanted to shift, which, had been a journey of sitting in that pain for at least 4 years before I
Wow.
found this. And so I did, and it took time and chipping away and hoping there'd be just some magic bullet that made it all shift suddenly. And that's quite a story and a journey. But eventually, um, I I I got everything I want. I didn't believe it really was possible that I was going to get to experience pleasure like other women and be able to orgasm and all of this kind of thing. And through the work that I did on myself, I just completely opened it all up, and I could have, energetic orgasms, every type of orgasm, squirting, like everything. And just,
Celebrating you. I love this. I love this. It's
yeah.
so, and you know, yeah, keep going. I'll come
Well,
in
I
and
was I'm trying to shorten this as much as I can. So I got all that, and it was amazing. And then it was actually kind of like a couple of years after that, and I had a partner where it just expanded more and more, and just like everything I could have wanted and more beyond. And anyways, a couple of years later, something took me back to these sacred sexuality practices that I had tried when I was more shut down, and it was part of kind of my process of trying to access my sexual energy. And I came back to these from actually having, I guess, a flowing sexual energy, or being able to access my sexual energy. And just immediately, like the shifts in my energy when I would do these practices, and I would move the sexual energy, and I would use my sexual energy to come into expanded states of consciousness. And it was just like I would just was having mind-blowing shifts right away, and just going into states of absolute bliss and just oneness, and just knowing of who I am, what I'm about, like all of the ego shit just dropping away. Like self-doubt as a concept just didn't make sense. The idea of being worthy, I struggled so much in my work with like worthiness and just all this kind of issues around self. And it's like, this just doesn't make sense. This is just what I want to share, and it's obvious, and all that stuff I've been preoccupied by, like, just doesn't matter. And I was able to just step into, like, just know myself and my essence, and the truth of what I wanted to share, and overcome so much resistance, and access just in just such a more significant way, like my intuition, because I was just so connected and
yeah.
turned on. And that's when I was really like, wow, and it became then really about that for me, to be able to, like, work fear through my nervous system, work blockages through my nervous system, and use my sexual energy to come into elevated states of consciousness and connect with my essence and my, like, power. That's something
Mhm.
that a lot of women reflect to me as well, and that I also experience, is like this sense of feeling your power and like, fuck yes, I can do that. And it's obvious, and you just show up to whatever you're creating so differently, when you actually like really shift your energy in that way. So that's when, yeah, it really, became about connecting with myself and my power.
I love this. I love this. And for those listening to this, I totally resonate. And it's, every human, but we're talking specifically for women's, right to feel your pleasure and your courage and your passion. And that is something that you have to feel yourself. It's not a gift that anybody else can give you, but we
Yes.
can guide with tools. And only, speaking for myself, these are things that, all my friends, all my students, like, Nichole, you should be a sex therapist. Like, I am the intimacy queen. There's nothing that I haven't like touched, worked on, discussed. I can hold space for all of that. And I was doing it so, I guess, so privately because of my branding and my thing. And I had this internal conflict for ages because I am an energetic person. I hold space, unconditional love, and for me, it was this internal conflict. And I just kept being pulled and pulled more to intimacy and healing in the energetics world. And I was just feeling it. And it was really about a month of like this, like the black dog, like that energy, the depression was eating at my heels and was pulling me back into some old cycles. And I was like, what is this? Why is this coming up? And honestly, for not being honest. And the day, like it was a couple of weeks ago before I came to Bali, a few weeks ago, this other person that I've known for a really long time, and that podcast is now out. It's an 18+ one, but a beautiful friend of mine, a BDSM Dom, he's like, I want to be on your podcast. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then I asked my wife, I was like, should I do this? And she's like, okay. And so here we are. And then obviously you're my like next guest. And I love this because fuck yes, permission slips to all. Like, if there's anything that's past your comfort zone, back in the day, like when I was looking for all my sexual exploration and my counseling and my stuff, there was nothing out there. I had to answer ads in the paper. There was no Facebook. There was no Tantra. There was no, Google, all of that. And so, my intention just shifted. And from that moment, like the freedom and the difference that's happened in not only my energy shift with, with abs, with my business, with all these things, is just melted away because I said yes to that energy that I was suppressing because I was, fear of judgment on this professional coaching woman who is a mother, and a coach as well. I was like, I can't do both. And then I was like, fuck yes, I can. Actually, I can. And, it won't be everyone's cup of tea, but I guarantee there's other mothers and women out there that feel like they can't have it all. And, we're here to say you absolutely can. You absolutely can experience anything that you desire in your life. And so I love that you're promoting this and showing that, it's not just about business and coaching and well-being and mindset, because it's not. It literally comes from our feminine power. So, yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I love that you're doing that as well. And I think, that's what keeps your energy flowing, right? Like you were just saying, that is like when you act on the truth, you will be on your turn on when you're open and you act on the truth. And that just like energizes you, it lights you up, it turns you on. And I think it's so powerful, honestly, for you, particularly as a mother, doing that, because something that I've noticed from the women that I've worked with is like there can be this, like when we sort of step into different roles, or I guess you could say in our lives, we unconsciously can assume, or it's very common to unconsciously assume the like beliefs that you didn't even know you had about that role. And so for a lot of women, when they become a mother, there's this unconscious thing that comes over that's like, I can't be sexual, I'm not meant to be sexual, I'm I
Yeah.
or like because I'm meant to be this way.
Yeah, I'm
So
meant
I
to
think
look
it's
different now. I'm meant to dress different. I'm meant to behave differently. I'm meant to be a nurturer and blah, blah, blah. And it's, yeah, correct. There's a lot of labeling and conditioning and ideation of what it's look like to be a mother. So yeah, there's so many stories and so many misbeliefs. And honestly, through breaking through some of those molds, with different coaches and therapists and things in, you know, our lives, it has created the most abundant, best communication and sex life and intimacy. And when you have that, not only with self, but if you have intimate partners as well, that frequency of love and connection filters out into every aspect of your life, every aspect. And so it is so important to work on that. Whereas a lot of people think, oh, I've got the partnership now, I've just got to hold it together for the kids, you know, let's put that aside, or whatever that might look like, or I'm single, so I'm going to put that aside. That frequency really disempowers us. And so yeah, I'm so grateful that there's, you know, women like you and sex therapists and coaches out there changing it up. And for women that haven't, you know, I come across it a lot as well, women that haven't had pleasure or have had sexual trauma, like, you know, blown away that we can shut down and have numbness down there, and yet that can be healed and changed, and yeah, with the right coach and right therapist as well. So there's, my mind blows. And if you had spoken to me, you know, I'm 44, so if you'd spoken to me 20 years ago about a yoni massage, oh my God, I would have been like, what? I'm like, sign me up now. You know, but yeah, there's so much healing that can be done with hands and the right people. And yeah, I think that these conversations need to be had more, because people are literally missing out.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, just like you're saying, just even opening the conversation. And I think that it's a relief for so many people, because people actually, you know, want to talk about it. Women want to be connected to their pleasure. They want to feel more. They want to have like what they see. Well, depends, I guess. Like if you've been on like a tantra retreat, like what they see other women having. And it's possible for everyone. Like you mentioned that in like, and my story, I just want to be the ultimate demonstration of that. Is like, there's no such thing as women that can squirt and not squirt. There's no such thing as women that can have internal orgasms and women that can't. There's no such thing as women that can be highly energetically orgasmic and women that can't. Everyone can. It's just getting that connected to your body and your energy and your sensation, and removing the barriers to that. And then, you know, every woman can experience whatever degree of pleasure and energy and orgasmic energy and pleasure. Like it's all there for everyone.
Yeah, it totally is. It really, really is. So yeah, thank you for letting, you know, women know that as well, and places and spaces that they can come to and ask questions of. So I would love to know a little bit more about how that came into your like business and your frequency. I've seen some of these like cool little posts and things that you're adding into your business. So I'd love for you to do a bit of a shout out to your packages. And I think you're creating some resources I saw that's being made in Bali. I don't know if you're announcing all your bits and pieces, but I saw some posts.
Yes.
So I would like, yeah, lay it all out, baby. Let's go, Alex. Like tell us what you're doing, where you're at, what you have, because yeah, let's shout it from the rooftops. Yeah, let's have some fun.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, so as I said previously, it was more like in my mastermind, you could get this kind of thing. Although I did actually run a membership for 2 years that was centered around that we did a sex magic ritual once a month. So that would be like a guided self-pleasure practice where I'm guiding you to connect with that energy, shift energy in your body, digest, you know, if there's fear or resistances, and then move the energy, you know, into an like bringing you into expanded and elevated states of consciousness. And I do have all of those recordings packaged together now that you can access, as well as some also short feminine connection practices, which are mostly Taoist and tantric practices that you can use as like a daily practice with things like, you know, breast massage, womb breathing, things that are going to connect you with your body and your sexual energy and help with the whole process. So that's my Sex Magic Ritual collection. So that is now available for people to access, which is very exciting because I don't actually know anywhere else you can just get something like that. And I recently just ran for the first time a new program that I will keep running a couple of times a year called Erotic Magnetism. And that's about how to actually like connect with your erotic energy and let yourself, so it's not about like being sexual with like anyone that's around you, but it's actually that you allow yourself to inhabit that energy in your life and have your life be driven, like, you know, that you inhabit the magnetism, radiance, like frequency of your just most vibrant self through embodying and owning your erotic energy.
I love that. I love
And that's,
that. Some women
sweet.
don't know how to do it. Like some women do not know how to shift their energy, shift their captivation to turn them, like, you know, just, you know, but look at themselves in the mirror and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, babe, you're gorgeous, or whatever else that is, and embody that frequency. And you just reminded me, it was so funny. I was trying to teach this to a friend of mine because for some reason, I don't know why, I've always been able to do that. And we were out one night and I said, watch this. And so she followed me. And I literally walked around this pontoon and I turned that energy on, and I kid you not, every single person looked at me and gave me eye contact because I was walking around in that energy, in that, wasn't like, yeah, come have sex with me. It was just like, hey, look at me, like, here I am. And this other person is very, like, it just was in awe. She was in awe. She did not know. She's like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I actually don't. I haven't had the thought process of how I download and how I do that. So it's great that you're teaching that, because women need to know, like, how do I put it out there? How do I turn it off? How do I have my boundaries? How do I connect? How do I play with that frequency to captivate, to turn myself on, to get people to notice me, to get out of my comfort show? Like, how do you do that? So I love that. I absolutely love that you've got to practice for that and showing women how to.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and I love that you're out there spreading it as well. And yeah, it's a thing.
By spreading it, I was just... it was a bit of an experiment.
Embodying it, owning it.
Yeah. It was.
And
also, so
most women.
No, you go.
Sorry, I think there's a bit of a time delay. I was just going to say, most women, you know, don't even feel comfortable accessing that at all, like even with their partners. You know, it can be they don't know how to let themselves be really sexy and hot and own their sexual energy. And then there's also like women that, you know, can do that in the bedroom with their partners, but don't know how to like bring that, you know, energy into their life and just fucking own themselves in that way in their life. So erotic magnetism is also about like, how do you live in this? How do you create and live as like a turned on, radiant, magnetic woman?
Yeah. And because that's right. Like, I mean, it's in everything. Like, if you want to, you know, I was using that for, you know, get attention, but, you know, if you want to, you know, public speak and you want to gain attention, if you want to, you know, be in a board meeting and make sure that all the men are listening, like, it's not that you want to have sex with them all, but it's like, hey, I've got the power here. I'm captivating. Watch this space. And yeah, I think it's innately in women, and yet with it, whatever conditioning or stories it had, some women are just so totally disconnected from that frequency, from that personal power, which just bubbles up from, you know, from our base, like, and comes through and you know, explodes out of our heart. So important to teach that. And yeah, definitely, as I was speaking, like, mums, we do tend to think, nope, shut that down. Like, I'm only allowed to be this portion of myself. And so, yeah, I love that you've got some resources. And we will, by the way, guys, pop all the links underneath so that you can contact and get all those bits and pieces. So I love sharing all this information, because again, it just so wasn't available when I was, first looking, or, whatever else.
Totally.
You go.
I was just going to ask, I'm curious, like what, because you shared like this is something that you're wanting to be more open about sharing in your brand and bringing through this message and just, the power of what you actually do with your clients around this. And so I'm just curious, like, what is the message you would really love to share with women around stepping into their sexual energy, sexual sovereignty, sexual power?
Yeah, I feel like you nailed it before. It is such a sacred sexual energy, and the sacredness of our women's power is something that's not normally celebrated. It's normally like, oh, she's a sex worker, or she's, a stripper, and, I do my pole dancing. And so there's such, connotation to like, she looks better than me. It's not about that. Every single woman is divine and sexy and has this magnetism and beauty within them. And for me, it's helping them find that, because, I've worked in so many industries, from beauty to, to pole dancing, to different ones. And every single woman will look at all their flaws first and forget their radiance and their actual personal power, their energy, their frequency, and what they're capable of. And for me, I am very, very blessed that in my past relationships, and even this current one, my authentic truth in all sexual exploration has always been held and celebrated and encouraged. Whereas I feel like some women, and maybe more than others, have been shut down, told it's wrong, told it's dirty, it's not okay, you're not allowed to. And I'm here to say, fuck yes, queen, you can do whatever you like with your body, and let's celebrate that, and let's do it anyway.
Hey everyone, Nichole here, and I hope you're enjoying today's episode. I just want to take a quick moment to talk to you all. If you're finding value in our conversations and loving the raw, honest dialogues we're having here, I've got a small favor to ask. This podcast is a passion project for me, and there's nothing I love more than bringing these stories and insights to you. So if you haven't already, would you consider subscribing to our show and leaving a review? It's completely free and it doesn't take much time, but it really helps us in two big ways. It's getting the podcast in front of more listeners, which keeps our community growing. It helps us attract more amazing guests, which means we give you more value in the episodes we bring to you. Just hit that subscribe button, drop us a review, and let's keep these conversations flowing. Now let's dive right back into our episode, and thanks so much for being a part of the Nichole's Show.
Regardless of who you are, what job you have, if you're a mother, if you're a daughter, if you're an auntie, if you're a grandma, like, you can have the intimacy and connection with your own body and with others in your life that you choose. And I mean that from not even just your intimate partners. Like, I'm bisexual, and I have a partner who a wife, and I still need cuddles from men. Like, I know that I've got safe men that I can ask and have that male connection from, and different things. And I was at a breathwork the other day, and there was this 80-year-old woman, and she just OG breathwork, rolled over and cuddled her best friend, another female, and this young 20-year-old was like, God, that's amazing. And I just literally forget that in this world of coaching and intimacy, that we are so connected to being able to, consent and boundaries and asking, but intimacy and touch and love is every human's right. And you are not just conditioned to get it from your sexual partner. Like, let's open our hearts to knowing that we can come back to that. And when you're in that frequency and energy, you will attract more of those beautiful humans in your life that will hold that sovereignty and sacredness of what human beings are genuinely put on this earth to experience. So that was a bit of a long one. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I so agree with what you said. Like, especially as you were saying, like, women appreciating their own beauty and radiance and connecting with the truth of that, and and how that is that's natural when you connect, with your sexual energy and your sexual power. And yeah, I feel like you shared it so well. And I just totally agree. And I
Yeah,
love
just
that. And I think it's just so powerful for you to share it.
thank you, thank you. And yeah, as I said, like I feel like there's a deep connection here for like wherever this may go, more conversations or whatever else. But I'm personally running like a women's retreat here in Adelaide, but I would definitely want to run one in Bali. I know that's where you live, but around all this stuff, because women do need that, that sacred. We need to hold space and have that privacy to heal, to then, come out again and learn. And I think that's where I'm going with it. Like I chose a couple of weeks ago to be like, fuck it, I'm actually going to put it out on socials instead of just privately in my containers and invite only. I'm just now having my own reawakening again into the fact that I am at a place that I can hold space and put it out there. And if I'm judged, I'm judged, and that's okay. But women can have their cake and eat it too. Like you are so you can have your orgasm and squirt too. Like whatever the vibe, whatever the meme works for you, but you can absolutely have whatever you desire.
Yeah, I love that. And, you even saying that just made me think of, I have this one client that I work with one to one, and I think we've been working together for, maybe over at least a year one to one. She was in my mastermind before that. And one of the things she told me when she started working with me was that one of the reasons she did was because the content that I put out around sexual energy and being connected to your sexual energy really triggered her, and it made her feel really uncomfortable, and she didn't like it, and she was a bit judgmental of it. And she was like, right, so there's something for me here. And
Yeah.
she leaned in. So it's like, being willing to trigger people, but knowing that whether people love what they see immediately or it triggers them, it's still serving them, because it's offering them like a new way of looking at it and a new perspective, and something that they either immediately resonate with, or they're at first like really triggered by, but that's then like setting something in motion for them, that might, they might then just go on their own process with that for a few years, but it's still like serving them.
You never know where those seeds are going to drop and who's actually watching, because sometimes I get DMs and comments of people that have been following me for years, or different. It's so interesting. And people who would see me would obviously think that I am the most confident, outrageous person, but I have my people pleaser and my doubts and my all those things, because I do care. Like, I do still have fear of judgment, but it's meeting those edges within myself to go, okay, do I have the, the resources and the capacity to hold myself through this? And and then I was like, okay. And for me, every part of my journey from way back from when I started talking about drugs and addiction, my mum was horrified. She's like, because back then you was like, you deal with it and you heal it, you don't talk about it. And then I started talking about like money and finances and different things, and Dad's like, oh, you don't talk about money. And now, okay, here's the next one. So sorry, Mum and Dad, maybe skip these podcasts. But it for me, it's always a journey. Like, and honesty is my number one value. And so if I learn it, then I have to share it. And I feel like this is just a new level of unlocking that, of the things that have always served me and helped me heal. And definitely, when you have the most beautiful, intimate relationship with self, and yourself, your heart, your energy, you can then share that with whoever. And it does start with self. It's when we're not just talking about our own sexuality and connecting with others. It really starts with us. And so many of us have been taught to shut it down, not talk about it. It's not okay. It's not available to you, or whatever that is. And so, I love this conversation. So I'm hoping that it is triggering and also inspiring a curiosity and also welcoming people that are, ready to work in these places and spaces with us. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something that, women are really like looking for and wanting as this way to connect back with themselves and all of themselves, and to have this part of themselves so fully that, they are unconsciously cut themselves off from at some point because of what was allowed, how you should be, how you shouldn't be. And as you said, it's just like not spoken about. Like so many women don't like have anyone to talk to about this stuff, or if they do, they don't, they feel like this, shame, or there's something wrong with how they're experiencing things.
yeah.
And assuming that everyone else has it all figured out, a lot like money. And so yeah, it's really just, I think, really healing for everyone to just, even have conversations about it.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. I have to share this story. This story is about 14 years ago, and it's been coming up a lot in my memory banks because yeah, it's a part of the journey. And maybe this client, I don't even remember who they were, but I had just come in learning scripted hypnotherapy and energetics. Like wasn't fairly new to coaching. All I knew was unpack their beliefs. What do they need help with? And the style of therapy I was doing was you read them this massive, like 10-minute scripting, and really get them deep into unconscious trance, like really like, play the music, talk to them, and then to rewire whatever the challenge or the issue was. You obviously replace it with something. It was to like speak really quickly about like an anchor in the solution, like the solution is your body is this, or you can blah blah blah. And literally straight out of beauty therapy to people laying on the bed. And this lady that I had known from a beauty client came in and had pelvic floor issues and had an operation. And the first thing, and I was in, God, I must have been like late 20s. And she said, like, my pelvic floor, I've had an operation, I'm too tight, my vagina doesn't work, my husband can't fit in, it's excruciating, it's painful. Now, through my therapies and through the things that I've been through, I've had coaches or a psychiatrist like lean back and be, totally stunned by the things that I've shared because I'm quite open. And I vowed never to do that to someone. Now, in my mind, I was like, holy fuck, we did not cover this in hypnotherapy. We were covering emotions and anger and, body imagery. We were not covering this. And I was like, and just for something, and I guess maybe that's re-sparked me here, 10, 15 years later, I was like, we got this. And I just was like, okay, what does she need? She needs to know that her body is perfect, that she can have the pleasure and that it works amazingly. And I just went into this, free rant around her body working exactly how she needed it to. And I swear to God, she texted me the next day and said, it worked. And I'm just like, wow, and here I was, like, I'm talking newbie, like no experience, no tantra, no, energetics, like just very, very new. But the power of belief and holding space for somebody that they can tell you anything, that you can, offer that. And my initial terror of like, oh, fuck, what do I do here? And then I was like, nope, we've got this. And, that is everything. And it's just really reminded me that you can heal anything, you can work on anything, whether it's physical, emotional, whatever. And if by any chance you're met with somebody that can't hold space, just keep asking the question, because there's going to be other coaches out there that can, and that's the thing. So yeah, I'm just eternally grateful for that memory, because I literally remember it was one of my most like confronting things, and I just was like, okay, we've got this, like, yeah, let's go from facials to vaginas, and let's go there and hold space, and it works. Like the energy, the frequency, the belief, the recoding, that changing that frequency for that client, that person, made all the difference.
Yeah, totally. It's like psychological, it's and yeah, removing it's just about removing the barriers, right? And being able to surrender into it. And I totally agree with what you said, that you can shift and heal anything. And, you know, as I was saying, that's what I feel like my story really proves that, you know, one of my main things that I wanted to also like shift and heal around that time was, I won't go into it now because it'll take too much time, but was like these bladder issues that I had when I was a kid, and then kind of came back when I was 20. And you know, like I had been to every type of alternative therapy, like kinesiology, acupuncture, all these things, all these people that said they could help me. No one could help me. So it was like years, like so many years of my life of seeing people that said they could help me and then they couldn't. And the conventional system had no answers. And
Yeah.
you know, and then I just like, I did the emotional work on it, and it just like, the doctor told me I would need to be on medication for the rest of my life, and I was like, that does not make sense to me because it's not always like this. And
Mhm.
and I shifted it, I healed it, and I was like, you know, if you can do that, like you can do anything.
I love that. I love that. And there'd be heaps of women. I actually probably have got about 3 that just popped into my mind that have incontinence things that have come up, and from whatever reason. And one literally just been told she needs to be on medication. So yeah, so such a
Bullshit.
cool reminder. Yep. So I've got
Yeah.
clients for you anyway. But I love this because again, but it's not talked about. You're like, oh, I'm
I
peeing myself. I've got to
know.
go to the doctor, and you know it's happening now more, and blah blah blah, and all these things. And yet most of us are so conditioned, like go to the doctor, get some medicine, and you know, for all these things. And yet we can ultimately heal ourselves with the right, you know, and we might, you know, these 2 crazy pink haired girls might not be the right ones for you, but we definitely know also a lot of other, you know, people in this world too. So I'd love for people to send in questions, because we could literally go so deep on this, and maybe even do a sequel, but send in questions or curiosities, and they can all be anonymous, because this could be really cool. Opening these conversations and chats to women that are struggling with, you know, anything that's with their bodies or their emotions or their desires, and how it works. So I love this. I would love you to share one thing that, you know, you continuously come up with the women that they just need to either like hear or embody or feel. Like, I'd love you to share something that you think that women need to hear today as this podcast lands in their ears.
Okay, the thing that immediately comes to me is just such a central theme that comes up in my own personal process and with my coaching clients. And, you know, it's to like, we all feel like there's something wrong with us in some way. You know, it's the thing that, you know, whatever you resist about yourself, right? Like maybe you resist and feel so wrong that you have this habit or like this addiction or this, you know, thing, or you can't seem to get over this, or you can't seem to get your money shit together, or you can't, you know, whatever. And there's this thing that you resist about yourself, that within yourself that you're trying to overcome. And that, you know, that there is like, that is an illusion. There is nothing that, like, there is just nothing you need to get rid of about yourself. And the way through that thing is that you just fully allow it to exist, and it doesn't need to go away, and there's nothing wrong with it. And, you know, this, depending where you're at with the thing that's alive for you, the step that I would even encourage people to take is to just celebrate it. Like, just make it a full switch on, like, whatever you're resisting about yourself, that you do, or that you feel you are, that you just absolutely unconditionally, unapologetically embrace that thing, allow it to exist. It doesn't mean you can't have what you want. It doesn't mean, you know, you can't reach your end results. And even to like throw it a party and just be like, yes, you get to be here, you're awesome, you know, you kind of fucked up maybe, but like, you're awesome. You get to exist. I don't have to resist or reject any part of me, because the most disempowering thing that women do is resist and reject parts of themselves. That is what fucks them. 100%.
I love that, and thank you for that reminder, because there's always a part that we push down, push aside, ignore, or villainize. And for me, it was my drug addiction. I always came back to that, and you know, it's a long time coming, but I thought that was just a part that I held on to, that I was so guilty and ashamed of the money and the things and the whatever it was attached. And then one day I fucking loved her. I was like, fuck this. She kept me alive. Like, I was in a really bad state, but even though I was addicted, she kept me alive. And she's a crafty motherfucker. She can lie. She can manipulate. She can get through the darkest times. Actually, she's not to be hidden and told off and blah, blah, blah. She's just here to be celebrated. And that's just exactly what you're saying. And that's my version of addiction. But I held on to so much like energy and grief and disappointment and guilt about her. And then, when you love all parts, and I guess maybe that's the other thing that's coming out with me now. I'm just so in love with my sexual side. I'm in love with the energy and the frequencies and the people that are in my life. And I just need to explore that. And maybe I'd, push my siren, away or whatever. And so, celebrate all parts of you, because they are worthy of that.
Yeah. Then that's a perfect story to drive it home.
Yes, I love that. If you were to be or come back in this life as anything else, and it can be make believe or animal or anything like that, what would you come back as?
A cat, or maybe a lion.
Yeah, you love it.
I love cats. Cats are amazing. Cats are.
What's the reason behind that? What's the intention, the feeling? Because
Okay. I'll go with cat. Okay, so the thing behind it is like a cat is like a ninja, laser focused, killing machine. Like, a cat puts its eye on something and it gets it. It's like it can jump off probably a 5-story building. It can jump up that tree. It is like so agile. It's so flexible. It's so like in its body. It can literally like bend over backwards and lick its back. And it's just like this sensory, I don't know, this amazing sensory creature where like you pat it and it just goes into ecstasy. Like, it goes into ecstasy, and it's purring just in this pleasure and ecstasy, and and it lies in the sun, and I just feel like it's just got this incredible versatility and ability that I just adore. And then how much it can just like fully receive and enjoy life, and it knows what it wants, and it's direct, and just so many epic things about cats.
Cats are just unapologetically them. They have attitudes, they have behaviors, they're used in witchcraft. Like, they just have so many cool facets. Very feminine, very feline energy. I'm really feeling that fierceness from you. So I love that.
They're so epic. Yeah.
Someone asked me that question the other day, and I was like, what would it be? And for me, I instantly said mermaid. Like, I would come back as a mermaid. Like, I'm a water person. I am, colorful, and I love, that the thing, but I would come back as one of the sirens, like I was just saying, like one of the ones that call the men out to sea, and they're just like so beautiful and captivating using that energy. And then I would devour, because I take what's mine too, like like there's just so I know that's just funny. So that's what I would come back as, a beautiful mermaid / siren that plays in that energy. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. It's been a little whirlwind journey. I'm going to pop all Alex's details and her courses and where you can find her underneath. And like I said, if you have questions, you can DM us or whatever else, and we might even do a part 2. But thank you so much for joining us. And just honestly, still fangirling a little bit, but so aligned. Thank you for sharing everything that you have, and keep doing the work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And you too. Keep sharing the stuff. And it's been such a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course.